Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting truly well-informed without all the overwhelm. Today, we're taking a journey, a really fascinating one, deep into two very distinct but, well, equally rich regions of France. We're looking at the Grand Est and Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. Our mission, like always, is to cut through the noise. We'll pull out those key insights, maybe some surprising aha moments from all the research we've done so you get the essentials, and hopefully it really sticks.
That's exactly right. And these aren't just, names on a map. These are regions really deeply woven into the fabric of European history. They're famous for, well, enduring traditions, amazing food, and actually quite diverse landscapes. So we're going to unpack their distinct identities. We'll start with those fascinating Franco-Germanic influences in the Grand Est, and then move to the ancient ducal and monastic heritage you really feel in Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. Should be a great exploration.
Okay, so where should we start this deep dive? I think the Grand Est, it really sets the stage for understanding France's place in Europe, doesn't it? I mean, its location alone tells such a story. It's right there, bordering Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, Switzerland.
It absolutely does. That location, that strategic spot, it creates what our sources call the beautiful blend of Franco-Germanic heritage. And you really feel it. It's in the architecture, definitely in the food, even in languages spoken, especially if you're in Alsace or Lorraine. It's this cultural convergence that's just shaped everything.
And it's a big region, right? We're talking Alsace, Champagne, Lorraine, parts of the Ardennes too. Strasbourg's the capital. Beyond that Franco-German mix, what about its religious history? You mentioned strong Catholic roots, but also Protestant and Jewish heritage. How does that play into things today?
Well, it's fascinating, actually. Each part brings its own thread. So yes, deep Catholic roots, you see that in the huge cathedrals, but then you have areas with strong Protestant traditions and a really significant Jewish heritage, particularly in cities like Strasbourg. And this mix, it creates this unique regional feel. You see it in the famous Christmas markets. Strasbourg's is, well, one of the biggest and oldest in Europe. You see it in those iconic timber-framed houses, the medieval towns. Plus, yeah, you can't talk Grand Est without thinking Champagne, or Riesling for that matter. That wine culture is huge. And there's this real local pride. You feel it in their festivals, family traditions, the connection to agriculture. It's tangible.
You know, looking at the history, it becomes really clear why they call Grand Est the battlefield of Europe, doesn't it? I mean, heavily fought over. Franco-Prussian War, WWI names like Verdun, the Marne, the Argonne just jump out. And even WWII with the whole annexation of Alsace-Moselle situation.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it? This place, scarred by so much conflict, the battlefield of Europe, now it hosts the European Parliament in Strasbourg. It's more than just a symbol of, France and Germany making peace. It's like history actively shaping a more hopeful future, right there where it used to divide. That's a real aha moment for me. And thinking bigger picture, the region has other huge historical moments too. Joan of Arc was born there in Dombremy, Lorraine. And the Treaty of Verdun, way back in 843 AD, that divided Charlemagne's empire, basically laid the roots of modern Europe right there. It's almost unbelievable how much history is packed into this one area.
It really is, and the tradition seems so vibrant, bringing that history alive. So beyond the Christmas markets, which are world famous, what other celebrations really capture the spirit of the Grand Est for you?
Oh, definitely the Fête de la Mirabelle in Metz. It's this wonderful celebration of their beloved yellow Mirabelle plum, music, fireworks, the whole deal. Then there's the Carnival de Mulhouse, really colorful, and St. Nicholas Day is huge in Lorraine. Kids get gifts, there are parades, and obviously the wine harvest festivals. In Champagne, in Alsace, they're not just parties, they're like expressions of deep pride in their work, their land. And you still see traditional folk dances like Alsatian waltzes and polkas. That's still part of the local flavor.
It's amazing how much sensory richness there is, the tastes, the history. What about the sounds? What's the auditory identity of the Grand Est?
Auditory identity, I like that term. Well, traditionally you'd hear folk music, maybe some yodeling, waltzes, polkas, often with accordion, zither, brass instruments, so you can hear those Germanic links. But it's not just folk music. You've got top-notch philharmonic orchestras in Strasbourg and Nancy, and the organ and choral music in the big cathedrals. Just breathtaking. On the modern side, there are bands like MOAT and Manao doing Celtic rock, but tying it to regional identity. And Trio, they often play festivals there. Strasbourg especially has a pretty lively scene for indie, electro, experimental stuff too.
Okay, we've touched on history, traditions, the sort of heartbeat of the region. But for a lot of us, a place really comes alive through its food. So what culinary delights should we know about in the Grand Est?
Oh, absolutely, the food.
Yeah.
In Alsace, think hearty, comforting. You have to try choucroute de garni, that's sauerkraut with all sorts of smoked meats. Amazing. And tarte flambée, like a super thin, crispy pizza, usually with cream, onions, bacon. So good.
Okay, I know that one.
Then there's bake-off, this slow-cooked stew with meat and potatoes. Delicious.
Ugh.
And for sweet stuff, the Kugelhof cake. It's got that distinctive shape. Each dish really tells a story.
And Lorraine has its own classics too, right?
It certainly does. Lorraine gives us the original quiche Lorraine. Forget the pale imitations. The real thing is something else. And those delicate little madeleines from Commercy. Proust wasn't wrong about those evoking memories.
Mm.
And Mirabelle plums are everywhere. In tarts, jams, liqueurs. They love their Mirabelles. Champagne region has its things too. Biscuits, roses, durames, those pink cookies you dip in champagne.
Mm.
And Chambon de Reims, a really tasty cured ham.
And the drinks. Obviously champagne, but what else?
Right, beyond the bubbly. Alsace makes fantastic white wines. Riesling, Gewürztraminer, Pinot Gris, really high-quality, sought-after wines. And don't forget beer. Beer brewing is a big tradition, too. Kronenbourg, one of France's biggest breweries, is based right there in Strasbourg. So yeah, it's a region that definitely knows its drinks.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. Fashion. What do traditional clothes tell us about the Grand Est?
Well, traditional Alsatian dress is pretty striking. You often see those large, usually black, bow head dresses. And embroidered bodices, colorful aprons, very distinctive. Lorraine folk costumes tend to be a bit more modest, maybe with bonnets and shawls. What's interesting today is how the modern style kind of reflects that blend. Again, a bit of Germanic practicality, maybe, mixed with French tailoring. You see typical urban European fashion in the cities, sure, but also a sort of rustic charm. Practical layers are key, especially for the winters.
And the nature there feels so central. What about the plants and animals?
Oh, nature is huge. You've got the
Yeah.
big forests of the Vosges and Ardennes Mountains. Agriculturally, things like grapes, plums, hops, sugar beets are vital culturally and economically. Fauna-wise, yeah, wild boars, deer, foxes are common. But the white storks, they're really special. Kind of an unofficial mascot for Alsace.
Right, you see them on the roofs.
Exactly. Seeing them nesting is a really beloved sight. And the rivers like the Meuse and Moselle, they're full of salmon and trout. Oh, and geraniums. You see them everywhere, filling out of window boxes on those half-timbered houses.
Right.
Had such a splash of color.
This region has produced some really iconic figures, people who've shaped not just France, but Europe. Joan of Arc, obviously, from Domremy. Who else stands out?
Well, definitely Robert Schuman, often called the founding father of the EU. His work on reconciliation really captures the spirit of this border region. Then there's Tomi Unger, the illustrator from Strasbourg, known for his quirky kids' books, but also quite provocative adult art. Even Christian Dior spent some of his early life in Lorraine. And on the literary side, you have writers like Erckmann Chatrian, who wrote stories about Alsatian and Lorraine life. And more recently, Philippe Claudel, also from Lorraine.
It sounds like there's a really strong regional pride that even shows up in modern pop culture.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Alsatian pride is fierce. You hear young artists using bilingual slang, referencing storks or flammacouche in their jokes or music. It's very much alive. And cities like Nancy and Reims, they're big student hubs, so there's that youthful energy. Strasbourg itself feels increasingly cosmopolitan, really embracing its European identity while holding on to its unique past. It's a cool mix.
So many amazing landmarks packed in there. If you were guiding someone, what are the absolute must-sees in the Grand Est?
Oh gosh, where to start? Strasbourg, definitely. The cathedral is just, wow, Gothic masterpiece. Petit France district is incredibly charming, and seeing the EU Parliament building is quite something. Reims, again, the cathedral there is hugely important historically, where French kings were crowned. And those champagne cellars, miles of tunnels underground.
Incredible.
Nancy has Place Stanislas, that stunning Baroque square UNESCO listed, and amazing Art Nouveau architecture too. Metz has its own impressive cathedral, Saint-Étienne, and the modern Pompidou Center branch, which is architecturally striking. And Colmar, people call it Little Venice with its canals and those picture-perfect half-timbered houses. It's like stepping into a storybook.
What about for people interested more in, say, history or nature?
Well, for history buffs, Verdun is essential. The WWI battlefield memorials, it's a very powerful, sobering experience. You can't really understand the 20th century without it. And Epernay for the Avenue de Champagne, lined with all the famous champagne houses, great for tours and tastings.
Right.
For nature lovers, the Vosges Mountains are fantastic. Beautiful lakes, ski resorts in winter, lovely spa towns like Vittel or Girardmar, Lots to explore.
Okay, let's talk language for a second. It's not just French, is it? What other languages and dialects might you hear?
No, it's a real linguistic mix. Officially French, of course. But you'll definitely hear Alsatian, which is a Germanic dialect.
Hmm.
There's also Lorraine Franconian and the Champenois dialect, though that one's fading a bit. And they have some great local phrases like un pour tout pour la Mirabelle. It's kind of a jokey phrase during plum season, like all for the plum.
Hey.
Hobla Geis is Alsatian, means something like let's go or oops. A windstub, that's a traditional Alsatian wine tavern, super cozy. Bisam just means together, which reflects that community feel. And maybe a toast. En avant, champagne. Forward champagne.
The symbols are really strong too, aren't they?
They really are. The stork for Alsace, symbol of luck, prosperity. Everyone loves the storks. The Cross of Lorraine is hugely important, symbol of French patriotism, especially from WWII and the Free French Forces. Very powerful. And, maybe surprisingly, the champagne cork. It's a popular souvenir, a small symbol of a global luxury, right?
That gives us such a fantastic picture of the Grand Est. Okay, let's pivot now. Let's head southwest a bit and discover Bourgogne-Franche-Comté. You called it the soul of tradition. What's the core identity here?
Yeah, this region really feels like a land of dukes, monks, and winemakers. That sums it up pretty well. It's famous for, obviously, its incredible vineyards, but also stunning Romanesque architecture and just this palpable sense of rural tranquility that has a very deep Catholic heritage, especially through these hugely powerful medieval abbeys like Cluny, which we should definitely talk more about. And then the Franche-Comté part, there's a distinct Comtois identity. It's more mountainous, pastoral, fiercely proud of its history of independence.
I've heard the phrase art de vivre used for this region. What does that mean exactly?
The art of living. It's not just a cliche there. It really is a lifestyle. It's about, slow food, really savoring local products, having a deep respect for craftsmanship, for time. And historically, wow, the Duchy of Burgundy back in the 14th, 15th centuries, hugely powerful. Dukes like Philip the Good, Charles the Bold, they rivaled the King of France. Their court was incredibly influential. And Cluny Abbey, for centuries, it was the center of monastic reform in Europe. Its influence on religion, art, intellect was just immense.
And Franche-Comté had its own distinct history too, didn't it, before joining France?
It did, yeah. It was actually ruled by the Spanish Habsburgs for a long time, which gives it a slightly different historical flavor. It only became properly French in 1678. It was also a major stronghold for the French resistance during WWII, especially in the Jura Mountains. That rugged terrain was ideal.
Yeah.
And scientifically, it's important too. Louis Pasteur, the guy who gave us pasteurization and vaccines, he was born there. Huge figure.
So, thinking about traditions, what really stands out as uniquely Bourgogne-Franche-Comté?
Well, the Saint Vincent Tournant is amazing. It's an annual wine growers festival. Different village hosts it each year. Big parade, costumes, celebrating Saint Vincent, their patron saint. Very lively.
Sounds fun.
And the transhumance festivals in the Jura are fascinating. Celebrating the moving of the Montbéliard cows up to the high pastures for summer. Very colorful, traditional, rooted in farming life. You also get medieval festivals, like at Cluny, bringing the abbey's history to life. And lots of fête de fromage cheese festivals. Poligny is famous for its one. They take their cheese very seriously.
Okay, and the sounds of this region, what would we hear?
Musically, there's a really strong legacy of sacred music, Gregorian chant. Places like Cluny, Béziers. You can still feel that monastic heritage in the music. Folk music, especially in Franche-Comté, often features accordion, hurdy-gurdy bagpipes, more of a pastoral feel, perhaps. Contemporarily, Hubert Félix Kieffin is a big name. He's a rock poet from the Jura, huge following in France. And bands we mentioned before, like Trio, La Rue Quétenu, they have ties here too, often play at the local festivals.
All right, let's talk food again. This region is legendary. What are the absolute must-try dishes in Burgundy?
Oh, Burgundy. Yeah, legendary is the word. Boeuf bourguignon, obviously. The classic beet stew, slow-cooked in red wine, iconic. Coq au vin, same idea, but with chicken. Equally delicious. And escargot de Bourgogne, the snails, swimming in garlic and parsley butter. You just have to try them.
Definitely.
Don't forget gougère, little savory cheese puffs, often served when you're tasting wine. Perfect pairing. And the cheese époisse. It's famously pungent, washed in Marc de Bourgogne brandy. A real experience.
Wow.
And of course, Dijon mustard. The real stuff is amazing.
And what about Franche-Comté? What unique flavors should we look out for there?
Franche-Comté has its own hearty delights. Fondue comtoise, made with their amazing Comté cheese. Different from Swiss fondue, uses local ingredients. Morteau sausage is fantastic. It's smoked, really flavorful, a regional specialty, often served with potatoes or lentils. Rusty, that grated potato dish, shows the Swiss influence nearby. For something sweet, tarte aux myrtilles blueberry tart is common, especially with berries from the mountains. And Mont d'Or cheese. It's seasonal, comes in a spruce box, and you often eat it warm and gooey. Utterly decadent.
And the drinks, just as famous as the food.
Oh, absolutely. Burgundy wines. I mean, where do you even start? World-famous Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. Chablis for crisp whites. The names themselves are legendary, but don't sleep on the Jura. They have really unique specialties. Vin jaune, yellow wine. It's aged under a yeast film like sherry. Very distinct nutty flavor. And Vin de Paille, straw wine. A sweet dessert wine made from grapes dried on straw mats. Intense flavor. And a fun tidbit, Kir, the aperitif, cassis liqueur and white wine. Named after Félix Kir, who was a mayor of Dijon. Oh, and absinthe. The original green fairy was first commercially distilled in Pontarlier in Franche-Comté, so it has that slightly notorious history too.
What about the style? Traditional clothes, modern fashion, and the natural landscape?
Well, traditionally, clothing was very practical, especially in rural areas. Working clothes, aprons, bonnets, maybe even clogs in the Jura, reflecting life on the land. Modern fashion is still often practical, rustic. Boots, earthy tones fit the vibe. But what's really cool is how the historical Burgundian court, the dukes with their rich fabrics, deep reds, that's literally where we get the color burgundy from. That deep red hue is named after the region's historical power and wealth.
Makes sense.
And nature. It's beautiful. You see the Montbéliard cows everywhere. They're distinctive with their white heads and patches. Their milk makes the Comté cheese. Huge forests in the Jura Beach, spruce, pine. Wildlife includes deer, boar, even some lynx have returned. And of course, vineyards. Rolling hills covered in vines, especially in the Côte d'Or, Saône-et-Loire, Yonne. It's just a stunning landscape.
The people from here have certainly made their mark. Who are some key figures from Bourgogne-Franche-Comté?
Well, we mentioned Louis Pasteur, the scientist. Gustave Courbet, the realist painter, came from near the Jura. His landscapes really capture that area. The writer Colette was born in Burgundy. Félix Kir, the mayor who gave us the drink, was also a resistance hero. Gaston Roupenel, maybe less known outside France, but he wrote beautifully about Burgundy's rural life. And historically, there's Bibracte. It's a major archaeological site. It was a big Gallic, Celtic town before the Romans came. Gives a window into that ancient past. Pop culture-wise, the French TV show L'amour est dans le pré, which is like Farmer Wants a Wife, often features farmers from this very rural region. And Dijon, of course, pops up constantly in cooking shows worldwide because of the mustard and wine fame.
Speaking of Dijon, it sounds like a must-visit. What other landmarks really capture the essence of Bourgogne-Franche-Comté?
Dijon is definitely key. Historic capital of Burgundy, the Palais des Ducs is magnificent. Great museum, too. Lots of beautiful old streets. Beaune is the heart of the wine trade. The Hôtel Dieu, with its incredibly colorful tiled roof, absolutely unique, must be seen.
Yeah, that roof is famous.
Besançon, in Franche-Comté, has its amazing citadel, designed by Vauban, UNESCO listed, and it's Victor Hugo's birthplace. Vézelay is this beautiful hilltop village with a huge basilica, important pilgrimage site for centuries. You can see the ruins of Cluny Abbey. Even in ruins, you get a sense of how massive and important it was. Autun has impressive Roman ruins, like a theater and city gates. And Salins-les-Bains has these incredible old salt works, also UNESCO listed, showing centuries of salt production history.
What about getting out into the countryside or the wine areas?
Absolutely. Arbois is key for Jura wines, especially Vin jaune. Pontarlier, the old absinthe capital, has distilleries you can visit, and the Jura Mountains themselves. Great for hiking, skiing in winter, beautiful lakes, and dotted with farms where you can stop and buy cheese directly from the producer. Doesn't get much better than that.
Finally, let's capture some local flavor. What about languages and sayings in Bourgogne-Franche-Comté?
Well, standard French is spoken, obviously, but you still find regional dialects. Burgundian, Franco-Provençal, and Comtois. And near the borders, you might catch hints of Alsatian or Swiss German. They have some great sayings, too. Bon vin, bonne vie. Good wine, good life. Pretty much sums up the Burgundian philosophy.
Simple and effective.
Tout est bon dans le cochon. Everything's good in the pig. Speaks to their love of charcuterie and using everything. Comté ou rien. Comté ou nothing. Shows that fierce pride in their cheese in Franche-Comté. On ne fait pas de Bourgogne sans Pinot. You don't make Burgundy without Pinot Noir. Underscores how vital that grape is. And a good sarcastic one. C'est pas de moutarde de Dijon, ça. That's not real Dijon mustard. You'd say that something is fake or just not up to scratch.
Wow, what an incredible tour we've just taken. We've really covered some ground, haven't we? Two profoundly distinct regions, Grand Est and Bourgogne-Franche-Comté, but both so incredibly rich. From the Grandest strategic position, that Franco-German blend, its history as a battlefield turned symbol of peace, to Bourgogne-Franche-Comté's deep roots in ducal power, monastic life, and those revered wine traditions.
Absolutely. And hopefully, you listening have gained a real sense of their unique characters. We've touched on everything from historical conflicts to, well, amazing food, traditional music, the natural beauty. It's clear that each region really tells a vital piece of the French story, and maybe even the wider European story, too.
So, as you think about these places, these deeply rooted identities shaped by history, landscape, traditions, maybe consider how they contribute to the amazing diversity of France and Europe overall. How do these very specific local stories maybe reveal bigger human themes like resilience, celebration, the power of place? What part of this deep dive will you carry with you?